everybody, welcome to my next, almost said movie review. I don't think so. Actually, my next video here, yeah, I'm running a little behind with some of this stuff, but, like I mentioned in that last video, I'm going to talk about, some of the, restaurants that I did review last year in 2011. So, here's what some of my thoughts are on the restaurant reviews. Really, I haven't, in case you didn't notice, do a lot of restaurant reviews in 2011. It's just because, a lot of the restaurants Tony and I ate at weren't really what I'd operationally define as quote-unquote worth talking about, and the ones that I did actually review were either, updates on restaurant reviews that I'd done in 2010, or, some of the ones that we just thought were interesting. 2010 was more of, the year of me doing, some mass restaurant reviews. But what it is I want to just go over the highlights of, what you would have seen, on, of course, this playlist, in case you forgot. So I am going to put this video on the playlist for the restaurant reviews in 2011, even though, as I shoot this video, today's January the 2nd of 2011. Or 2011. I don't think so. 2012. And in fact, something else I want to bring up, I accidentally said 2012, something or other to do with the fact that it was best of 2012. I don't think so. Not yet. I won't be doing that until about this time next, this come Christmas of this year. But anyway, just as, highlights of, what I reviewed in the restaurant reviews. In case you don't remember, my first restaurant review for 2011 was Guru India. Tony and I stopped eating at Guru India because, granted, I like eating the food, but my stomach didn't like digesting it. Because for some mysterious reason, I've discovered in the course of 2011 that, long story short, my insides can't handle any more spicy food. Excuse me. So I've had to quit eating there, even though, the food's still good. Excuse me, I had a cough, and I don't want, a big hacking cough in your all's ear. And of course, last year in 2011, I talked about, Renero's Pizza a couple times. Well, actually, it was more than a couple times. It was 2 or 3 times. Definitely 2, maybe 3. But, anyway, as far as Renero's goes, they're still working on getting that new space up and running to where they can officially move into it and start slinging pizzas in there, and delivering them and everything. But, I haven't been there, over at that Martha Lane Collins strip mall there in the last couple days, to really look, to tell you. But they are coming along on it, and that I can tell you for 100% for sure from when I was there last. They may or may not be ready by next month, February of 2012. But, like I told the owner, the dad, the last time I was in there, and I might have mentioned this in the last Renero's video that I updated on this channel last year. As soon as they get that place up and running and Tony and I have a chance to go there and eat, you'll definitely be, we'll take pictures and stuff, and I'll do a restaurant review of it. So, keep an eye out for that this year going forward in 2012. It has a lot to do with both this year and last year, and of course 2010. And I did want to remind everybody, speaking of the 2010 videos, I mentioned this in a restaurant review that I did in 2010, that Renero's Pizza is really good. I still do highly recommend it. They have a special, if you live locally, Renero's Pizza has a deal where if you get a 16-inch specialty pie, you get free knots with it, K-N-O-T-S. You either get cinnamon knots or garlic knots. The garlic knots I've had, they're a little on the, buttery side, but they're very good. Well, here's another restaurant that I reviewed that I want to talk about. Um, it's Pop's Place Cafe down in Cadiz. Like I mentioned in the restaurant review for it, granted, I went there in July of last year of 2011, but unfortunately, I didn't get around to doing the restaurant review of it until last month in December of 2011, just because for some bizarre reason I just, couldn't get it together until last month to actually do that restaurant review. And yes, I still think they had awesome, I think it was tea that we drank. It was frozen chai tea. But, like I said in that video, you couldn't get me to drive down there if my life depended on it. Or your life, or anybody else's life for that matter. I would not go back down there. It's just because, like I mentioned in that video, is like from the time we got off of whatever like big interstate it was, like I-64 or whatever, we drove like 100 miles to like the closest town to where that state park was. And by the time we had driven that 100 miles, Tony and I looked at each other and went, "Boy," we're like, oh, it's like I told Tony if I wanted to drive off the face of the earth, this is how I do it. No offense to the people that live down there, but really, it was a drive. I'm not going to lie about it. Tony and I said, I don't think we're going to go back down there unless we fly. Because it was too much. We might fly to, like, Paducah or something. Or Bowling Green and drive down and make it not as bad, But, anyway, I do recommend Pop's Place down there in Cadiz if you're ever down by Land Between the Lakes or Lake Barkley. That's something you might want to think about. They also have a really good Cracker Barrel. The next restaurant, of course, that I want to talk about is inside General Butler State Park, since I'm on the topic of state parks. General Butler State Park, just as a reminder, and I mentioned this in both the restaurant review of the Two Rivers restaurant and where I was talking about like the house, the General Butler house and the cemetery and everything. It's less than an hour and a half from here where I live in northern Kentucky because it's in Carrollton. Which, if you're trying to think of why you know the name of Carrollton, Kentucky, think back to the 1980s. Got two words for you. Bus accident. That's why you probably remember it. It's because in the 1980s, there was that really horrible bus accident down there just south of Carrollton. I gotta tell you, I actually met one of the survivors, and he's my age. So it gives you something to think about. When the bus accident happened, I was 12. Okay, that's kind of telling my age, but I was 12 years old when this happened. It scared me to death. And it's like, for a very young person at the age of 12 to make a mature decision like this, and I'll tell you what the decision was, it's pretty scary. I decided at the age of 12 that when I became an adult, I would not drink and drive. Because, it's like, I thought of, like, that could have been me. That was my thought. And I've mentioned that in the Carrollton bus accident video I shot. That scared me to death. I thought that could have been me. That could have been me and my friends. Could have been me and one of my parents. Could be me and, like, my brother or somebody. Because it did. It scared me to death. And what the worst part of it is the people that were killed in that bus accident were up here in Mason, Ohio, at Kings Island. And it's just like, it's like I just knew that route well enough to where it's like, I'm like going, oh my God. But yeah, anyway, I digress. I'm sorry, I'm getting happy with words here. I do digress back to, the Two Rivers restaurant inside of General Butler. I do recommend General Butler State Park and the Two Rivers restaurant. And, I can tell you they have remodeled that place a lot. I haven't got the pictures, together where I can show you what it looked like upstairs and everything. But take my word for it, they've actually improved on that state park and the restaurant, too. The restaurant is just, it's, just amazing how different it looks. from when I was there years ago. I mean, I even told Tony that they've remodeled the place big time. Of course, when Tony and I were down there in September, Tony, of course, was under the weather, and, he just, we were, wanting to go out and run around and stuff, but, unfortunately, the General Butler house was closed for wallpapering. I hope next time when we go down, and I mentioned this in the General Butler video, where I was talking about the park itself, I hope to God the next time we go down there that they're actually open for me and Tony to walk through, because I've never been through that house. And that house, I mean, you can see the pictures in the video. The house is just amazing to look at outside. Anyway, something more recent, and I'm not going to do an actual quote-unquote restaurant review of this one, but the pictures you've been looking at in this slideshow are from Saturday, New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2011, and this is kind of a restaurant review of it here. Tony took me out for a romantic date on New Year's Eve on Saturday to the Red Lobster. This Red Lobster that we ate at was over on Beachmont Avenue, over on the east side of Cincinnati, Ohio. And the waitress's name was Sarah, and she was off the hook awesome. I mean, we really gave her a good tip. By the way, I won't say we tipped her like $11 or $12 or something like that. I mean, we didn't have a very large bill, but it was like over 20%. Okay, just so you know, it was over 20% on the tip. Okay, and we even bragged on her to her manager. And by the way, just so you know who she is, if you're up here in this area, she's the picture of the waitress in one of these photos, and it might be the photo that's up now, because I'm recording the audio first and then putting the pictures in. But if you pay attention, the waitress in one of these photos that I've got here on this video, that's her. Okay? It's easier just to tell you that's her. She works evenings. She said Wednesday through Saturday nights and mids or early on Sundays. And, if you go to the Beachmont Red Lobster here in the Cincinnati, Ohio Beachmont area, I recommend asking for her because she rocks. She's off the hook great. But anyway, I want to pause here because I got some non-New Year's Eve food-related stuff. But before I go, I did want to make one other little comment. I am going to start up a, 2012 restaurant review thing here. This is not considered part of that since this is kind of like a rehash of 2011. So, anyway, I want to thank you guys for watching and keep your eyes out for some new videos for, 2012, for officially 2012. Because, like I mentioned in the last video, these are all 2011 catch-up videos, alright? So, hang on.